I don't know. I call it demon possession, but I don't know what you would call it. But they're acting like fools now, like children that have lost their toys.
That's a good way. That's a good way to describe it. I couldn't change any word that you just said.
Yeah, it's always tolerate our immorality, tolerate everything that we do illegally. But when it comes to you guys doing things legally, we don't like it, and we don't want to tolerate you. So it's just interesting how that is waking a lot of folks up. That's for sure. And you've got some great information helping us wake up today on some reality with the stock market, and we're looking forward to that.
I mean, the reality is, we've got two realities, right? It's like, number one, do we believe that Trump is going to win? Yes, we do. Yeah. Do we believe that this conflict in Iran is going to end with a positive result? Yes, I do.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, this is the thing. In the meantime, right? It's like, even if you look at like Jeremiah 29, right? It's like, God has promises for us to thrive and be successful and not to harm us, right? It's the promise in Jeremiah 29:11. But what was the verse right before that? Right? It's like Israel was in captivity for 70 years. 70.
Oh boy.
And God was giving him these promises of a successful future. It's like, who would believe it? Right? It's like, what we feel like we were in captivity for 4 years under the Biden administration, right? They were in captivity for 70.
That's right.
And yet God is giving them promises. So what did he say? What did he tell them? He said, live life, plant your gardens, have kids, grow a family, do what you would normally do, and my promise will be fulfilled. Right? So I kind of compare that today, because people say, well, look, the economy still stinks. We've got these mixed messages, and is unemployment up or is it down? Is inflation up or is it down? It's like, it's all over the place, right? And so people lose faith during times like this, and they stop listening to the promise that God has for us, that it is going to be a prosperous and successful future. And I believe that Trump is here for exactly that, right? But doesn't mean that tomorrow is going to be a magnificent outcome. It just means that, like Israel, 70 years of captivity, you might have to go through some dark times and some unraveling from policies of the past, right? Even new policies, that they don't take effect overnight, right? So we have this promise in mind, and to me, as an economist, we look at this and say, okay, why do we allocate into gold and silver? Well, specifically silver right now. Well, it's because of the reality of the world that we're living in.
Right.
There's low supply and high demand. We don't have to talk about it again, because we talk about it a lot. There is no supply, there's massive demand, and the world is moving in that direction, right? The world is moving in a direction, just like the Bible said that we would, in a time of one world government, one world currency. Is that going to be crypto or is it not, right? What about central bank digital currency? All of that stuff is coming, right? It's coming. So in this transitionary period, it's like, how do you succeed? How do you plant seeds that will grow a tree? So when this chapter in this book, the page turns, you're going to be set up for future success.
That's right.
Allocated into silver and to gold, right? So, but for silver right now. So you look at some of the wackiness that's going on in the stock market, for example, right? So you look at what billionaires are doing, right? Because they're always going to do what's best for their billionaire pockets, right? Because a lot of times what they say moves and controls a market, unlike what I say or what you say or what individuals say. It's like, yeah, we don't move or control a market. We can identify trends and act accordingly, but when we say something, it doesn't move a market. Now, Warren Buffett, when he talks, because he's like second richest person in the world or whatever he is, it can move a market because people listen to him. People like Jerome Powell, chairman of the Fed, when he talks, it can actually move a market. People like Jamie Dimon, the head of the largest bank in North America, when he speaks, it can move a market. People like Elon Musk, right? So you put these together. So I want to watch this video of what Warren Buffett is saying, and put this into context. Warren Buffett is going to do what is best for Warren Buffett.
Right.
Not necessarily, he's not going to project something that's best for everybody else. And he's like this innocent victim. No, he's going to do what's best for him. So let's listen to what he has to say. And then I want to analyze it a little bit.
Okay, here we go.
I've compared the markets to a church with a casino attached. And people can move between the church and casino. And I would say there are more people in the church and more people in the casino. But the casino's gotten very attractive to people. You know, if you're buying one-day options or selling them, I mean, that is, that's not investing. It's not speculating. It's gambling, you know, just totally. There's nobody that can explain why they're buying an option for one day. So we've never had people in a more gambling mood than now. But that doesn't mean that investing is terrible. It does mean that that prices for an awful lot of things will look very silly. We have lots more regulation and everything now, but people spend their time figuring out how to get around the rules rather than follow the rules. That's just a challenge.
Oh, wow.
So
Man.
he's comparing, you know, two basically polar opposite things: going to church, hanging out in a casino. Right. So what he's saying is, you know, people want the best, but yet they understand that maybe it's not the best. Let's go to the casino side, right? Let's invest in the stock market because it keeps going up. But we have to ask ourselves, why does it keep going up? And this is what he's saying, why this is gambling, because it doesn't make sense right now. Right? When you look at revenues, when you look at wages, when you look at how much people are spending, we're tapped out. Right? That the reality of the conflict with Iran causing oil to go through the roof makes everything in the world more expensive. People are more tapped out than they've ever been. So does it make sense? Literally, it's not a rhetorical question. Does it make sense that the stock market should go up when the stock market is what? It's a function of revenues. It's a function of people spending money at Best Buy or wherever. And then when that company is more profitable, then their stock prices go up. We're not necessarily spending more money, right? So how is the stock market going up? To me, it's a function of we still have a printing press. We still have a Federal Reserve. Up until recently, we had the Japanese yen carry trade. All of that money creation ekes its way into the markets, right? Which keeps the stock market propped up. It's like if you were a gambler and you go to Vegas and you're at the roulette table, and the first time you spin it, you win. It's like, sweet, I'm good at this. Right. And then the second time you do it, you win again. And then you think you're invincible and you keep doing it. Before you know it, you lose everything. Right. Because the house always wins. Right. So that's how I kind of view the stock market right now. Is this is not a function of fundamental reality of people using their excess wages to spend. It's a function of the credit cycle. Now, and it's a function of people, central banks printing money like there's no tomorrow. It's not a function of you and me anymore. It's a function of some larger entity keeping a market propped up. Well, that can't last forever because it's other people's money. It's debt. It's absolutely debt, LT. So Warren Buffett, in his wisdom, is saying this is like gambling. Doesn't make sense to me, right? So that's why he's sitting on $380 billion, billion with a B, of cash. Why 380 billion? Because he wants to wait until the market corrects and then he's going to buy back into it because he's a stock investor, right? That's what he does.
Right.
So how do we think that this market is going to go? Again, like we started, I think Trump is going to win. I think the outcome is going to be great. but we're in this transition period right now where it might be dark before it gets light.
Right.
So let's look at, some job numbers came out and it says, oh, there's more jobs right now. This is great. But that doesn't correspond with the number of Chapter 11 bankruptcies.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you look at that. This is literally.
Yeah.
They increased.
Chapter 11 bankruptcy filings increased 42%.
42%.
Good night.
That's not like, oh yeah, bankruptcies went up a couple of %, and it's like a meaningless number. Up 42%. So 644 commercial Chapter 11. I'm not talking about individuals filing for bankruptcy. We're talking about companies. 644 last month alone. 301 were made by small businesses, which is up 46%. So small businesses, this means Main Street America is not healthy.
Oh boy.
Which means if Main Street America is not healthy, what does that mean? It means people aren't spending money, because we're not talking about the big corporate entities that get the benefit of stimulus money. This is small businesses. Bankruptcy's up 46% in a month, right? So this isn't good. So there's a method to my madness in this story, right? So Michael Burry, right, who the movie The Big Short was made about, he predicted the housing crisis in 2008, 2009. Smart dude, right? Like one of the world's most prominent traders, not like a stab you in the back trader, but like a market trader. He buys and sells things, right?
Right.
So what is he projecting? He's projecting a big, mega correction in the stock market. Like mega. If you read this article on CNBC where he says the market today feels like the last months of the 1999 to 2000 bubble. Okay. What did 1999-2000 bubble equate to? An 80% downturn in tech stocks. 80. I mean, it took people like 8+ years just to break even again. That wasn't a small correction. That was actually worse than the 2008-2009 recession, where the markets came down 40%. I mean, it was big. So he's saying, and he was around back then, right? He said, this feels just like the last months before that bubble burst. So what is he talking about? It was a tech stock bubble, right? Irrational exuberance. Kind of like what Warren Buffett was saying. It's like, this doesn't make sense to me. This is gambling. Right? Well, you look at what's happened to AI stocks. You look at even in the cryptocurrency world, I've been watching the numbers and Bitcoin's been coming down, but where's that money going as people are liquidating and getting out? They're basically leaving, almost like they're leaving crypto and going into AI.
That's right.
Right. And you look at what, Anthropic, 80-fold growth in the first quarter of this year. 80-fold, not 80%. It's like everything is going to AI. And I was just traveling recently, and I mean, humans are kind of toast. I mean, I don't know what to say. I was walking around on the sidewalk, and they had these little refrigerator robots.
Yeah.
Right. Where restaurants could put the food order in there for people who wanted DoorDash or whatever, and it would just, go to your door. You don't even need people for delivery anymore. Right. And it's like, and you can type in a question into Claude on Anthropic. Say, build me a spreadsheet or a profit and loss statement for this. And then it builds it, and it says, okay, my profit for the year was 80%. My cost of goods was 20%. Here's my projection, and tell me about the industry. And it digs into research, and it gives you a full-on report, which would have taken weeks for a human to do, and it could take literally 5 minutes. It's like, so no wonder money is fleeing the system as we know it and going into AI.
Oh yeah.
Like, this is such an increase in productivity, which it is, but it's also a decrease in jobs, right? So ultimately, you look at this trend and you look at the number of bankruptcies that are already there, you look at what Michael Burry is saying, and he's expecting a correction that equals 1999 to 2000.
Yeah.
You look at what Warren Buffett is saying, how this is gambling, this isn't investing, this doesn't make sense to me, and he's sitting on $380 billion worth of cash. Then you've got the conflict in Iran, which is why a lot of this stuff is sort of happening, because it caused the price of oil to go through the roof as supply chains have been disrupted. So in the meantime, right, this whole dialogue here is about, in the meantime, how do you protect yourself and grow and thrive for what we know is coming, right? And when I say what we know, it's like nobody knows 100% for sure except for God.
Right. Amen.
But we're looking at these trends, and it's like, will the conflict in Iran end? Yes, it will. If it doesn't, then the whole world is done, because the whole world uses oil, and the price will never come down. It will end.
Yeah.
Trump's going to figure out a way, diplomatically or however, to make this end. Right. So when that happens, you've got normalization in the price of oil. You've got normalization in the supply chain of oil. You couple that with bankruptcies that are up 42%.
That's right.
You couple that with what Warren Buffett is saying, that this economy doesn't look good. This is a bubble. This is overvalued. You look at what Michael Burry is saying, that this is a bubble. So when you see the stock market correct and the economy correcting and the price of oil is coming down, there's no more inflationary pressures. So therefore, they lower interest rates to stimulate everything.
Amen.
When interest rates are lowered, the price of gold and silver goes up. And I think that the gold and silver markets are already seeing this outcome. I mean, you or at least with Iran, right? So they're saying, wow, are we going to come to a ceasefire here soon, or are we not? The markets are telling us, I think we're going to see this pretty soon, right? And so, because silver has gone up from like 77 to 81 in just the last week, it's on its way up, right? Which tells us that I think that this isn't going to be much more long-lived. I mean, it's already
me to let you know, of course. Thank you, Dr. Kirk Elliott, for our life change by bringing our IRAs over to silver. It's completely.
House Bill 7003, having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare it passed without objection.
In a recent interview, former President Barack Obama said, and I quote, "The White House shouldn't be able to direct the Attorney General to go around prosecuting whoever the president wants to prosecute." You're the Attorney General. What is your response?
Well, coincidentally, I happen to have, I think, a copy of our Constitution. So if we want, we can read our Constitution together. Article 2 says the executive power shall be vested in a President of the United States of America.
Oh, the amazing timing of our president visiting the reflecting pool. All so perfect again. The comms on Iran are also perfect for today. They match on the exact delta. Tennessee revealed their demonic possession in more ways than we could have imagined. MAGA is posted on the White House site with strange timing and comms. The hantavirus, we'll get into that. The PSYOP is exposed, and we will share their playbook. What it's all about today. Hope you guys tune in. Great Friday. 510,000 followers on Rumble. Thank you for hitting that follow button. Also, when you hit that like button, it helps us move. And guys, just yesterday to today, we ended up number 2 on the leaderboard right next to Dan Bongino's show. Thank you so much for your support and hitting that like button and following us and sharing these videos. It helps a lot. Also, you remember we got that 1 million views on our X at @AmWeKnow. We really appreciate that. Don't forget, we have our 250-year merch available, the hats and the shirts. Also, the women's 3/4 sleeve V-necks are finally here. We also have the 15% off site-wide. Use code MOM for Mother's Day. The Mother's Day sale is here. Now, look at these wonderful numbers from our favorite guy at CNN.
Harry, you were also looking at turnout. What are you seeing in turnout? Why is this significant to this conversation?
Okay, why is it significant? Because we know that within the Republican Party, Trump has that extra strong core, that MAGA base, right? We're talking about approval ratings, depending on which poll you look at, 95, 97, 100% with MAGA Republicans. And here's the thing. They are incredibly juiced up compared to other Republicans. Because let's take a look here. Republicans who say it's more important to vote in 2026 than the usual midterm election. Look at this. 60% of MAGA identifying Republicans say that, compared to just 36% of non-MAGA. So what's going on in these primaries, right? It's not just that you have this core Republican base that really loves Donald Trump. The people who really love him, they're the ones who are absolutely juiced up to go out and vote. They would go over hot coals to vote in those primaries. And you saw that in Indiana, with a clear majority of those representatives who went against Trump on redistricting. Well, they're no longer going to have a job come the next session of that state.
So then the question is, do Republicans think that party leaders should be following Trump, or other Republicans should be following Trump?
Yeah, okay. So you see this juiced up MAGA, right? You see right here that his support among Republicans is just as strong as it was going into the 2018 midterm cycle, right? But it's more than that. Republican voters want their party leaders to follow the president of the United States, because party leaders should follow the president's lead. You know, for Joe Biden at the same point in his first term, just 57% of Democrats said that party leaders should follow his lead. Look at this number for Donald Trump. It's 75%, significantly higher than it was for Joe Biden. So it's not just that Republicans really like Donald Trump. It's they want their leaders to follow Donald Trump. And when they don't, as I said at the beginning, you get voted off the island.
Yeah, off the island. Walking through hot coals. The words this guy uses, just phenomenal. We're going to have a great time today going through all this, folks. All right. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche.
In a recent interview, former President Barack Obama said, and I quote, "The White House shouldn't be able to direct the Attorney General to go around prosecuting whoever the president wants to prosecute." You're the Attorney General. What is your response?
Well, coincidentally, I happen to have, I think, a copy of our Constitution. So if we want, we can read our Constitution together. Article 2 says the executive power shall be vested in a President of the United States of America. It does not say that the Attorney General stands off to the side. So I'm an acting Attorney General. The Attorney General is a member of the cabinet of the President of the United States. The Constitution gives the President power. So I question people in this country that suggest that President Trump, as the chief executive of the United States, does not have the authority or the right, or shouldn't be leading this country in all areas, including what we need to be doing to get rid of crime in this country. And so I'm not familiar with the comments you just talked about, but to the extent that President Trump calls me and says that he thinks that we have a problem in this country, whether it's this scourge of drugs, illegal immigration, every American wants him to do that, and he should.
But the accusation here from the former president is that your department is now charging political adversaries of the president, or perceived political adversaries of the president, on his behalf to settle scores, essentially.
There's something extraordinarily rich about a Democrat suggesting that this administration is charging our political adversaries. I mean, first of all, we're not. Second of all, how about we think about what happened the past 4 years? It wasn't just President Trump that got indicted repeatedly in multiple district courts, in multiple jurisdictions, but it was also his entire administration, what was called into the grand jury. Members of his Secret Service detail had to testify in the grand jury. So I welcome criticism. Let's go. But let's, if you're sitting in a glass house, you ought not throw stones.
Oh boy, that glass house is going to start falling apart. President Trump put this out, a highly accurate depiction of the sleepy Joe Biden administration. Tremendous damage done, but we're back. And he's showing a meme with Hillary Clinton in the background with her evil witch eyes. You've got the Biden fake with the ice cream. You've got his son snorting cocaine. You've got the auto pin Barack Hussein Obama standing right behind him. We're going to have a decode on this in a moment when I get to MAGA from the White House. Justice Cummings put that together. We're going to cover that. First, I wanted to show you, since we're talking about Obama, look at what President Trump posted. Again, listen.
And by the way, Greg, how ironic is it that if it were not for the immunity case of Donald J. Trump, I wonder if he could be looked into as part of the grand conspiracy investigation.
Well, a lot of his actions are not in the course and scope of, his duties as president of the United States. So arguably no immunity. For example, there are handwritten notes, Sean, that show that Obama was told how Hillary Clinton approved a plan to falsely smear her opponent as a Russian asset. Totally made up, of course. Instead of telling the truth to the American people, what did Obama do? He concealed it. And he allowed the FBI to use the lie as a pretext to pursue Trump and leak it to the media. And at the same time, there's solid evidence that Obama ordered the DOJ to drop its investigation of Hillary for influence peddling with Russia, of all countries. So Obama flipped the script, and he did so corruptly. Hillary walked while Trump was framed. So I'm not sure that immunity would cover all of his actions here. As you point out, he played such a key role in altering that important intelligence document that would have helped exonerate Trump. Instead, it did the opposite. So, all of this self-righteous virtue signaling by Obama is utterly phony. He pretends to be morally pious. He's not. It's a charade.
August the 17th gave us that clip. Listen, remember the quote, well, a lot of his action were not in the course and scope of, his duties as president of the United States. So arguably, there's no immunity for that traitor, Obama. Remember, when we're done with him, says Q, he'll be claiming Kenyan citizenship. So President Trump also put out this one, the length of wars. Wow, study this chart. So we're going to study it just for a moment. Afghanistan war was 543 weeks long. Iraq war, 457 weeks. Vietnam War, 439 weeks. U.S. Civil War, 209 weeks. World War II, 196 weeks. The Korean War, 161 weeks. War of 1812 was 139 weeks. Iran excursion, 6. All of this playing out again with the war rhetoric. If you guys didn't know, listen to what happened recently. It's interesting because today's Delta, before I play this clip from President Trump, today's Delta, May 8th, on the Q board. Today, evil lost control, leverage of Iran. Today, the president took control of Iran. Today, with pending sanctions and military actions, POTUS will gain more ammunition, intel against them. Suicide watch. The deal kept Iran quiet. The goal was to keep president in until impeachment and the term end. Bigger than people can imagine. Treason is 1/10 of all this. Ask yourself, why are they panicking? Ask yourself, why is the UK, France, and Germany so involved? Trips to the White House? What are they hiding? Why is this relevant? Suicide watch.
Our military is unbelievable. They're doing an unbelievable job. We're negotiating with the Iranians. We have, you probably heard, we took our 3 destroyers and we rammed them through some pretty big stuff today, and we knocked the hell out of them. The destroyers weren't hurt in any way. The people weren't hurt, but they were firing at us, and we were firing back at them. and our firepower was a hell of a lot stronger than theirs, and they knocked the hell out of them. They took down a lot of small boats. You know, we call them small boats or fast boats. They're both small and they're fast, with some weaponry on the front. You know, this is now replacing the Navy. They had a Navy 159 boats. They have none. Okay, they're all at the bottom of the sea. So they replaced that with what they call the fast boat. It's a fast boat. Big deal. It's fast. It's got a machine gun in front. They've been knocked down. They knocked down quite a few of them today. Yesterday they knocked down 8. They average 8 a day. This is some group of people we're dealing with. So, it's very simple. Somebody said, what's your plan? I said, the plan is very simple. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. It cannot have a nuclear bomb. And it's not going to have. And they're really at the end of the line. They really are at the end of the line. Now, unless you guys feel differently. Now, these guys, I think, will say that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Would you say? We wouldn't feel very good if they did, because this, what you're doing and all the work that you do and that we do, it wouldn't look too very good after a while with these characters. We're not going to give them the right to have a nuclear weapon. There's zero chance. And they know that. And they've agreed to that. Let's see if they are willing to sign it.
Interesting. He looks over at the guys who are draining the swamp in D.C., and I've got a lot to cover on that. I'm laughing because if you guys didn't catch it, President Trump he drove on the reflecting pool. So I'm reading the White House. President Donald J. Trump drives on the reflecting pool at the Lincoln Memorial as upgrades continue. Almost like a picture of the swamp drained. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to go right over there at my vehicle as a symbol, because guess what, folks? May 7th, when he did that drive, draining the swamp, we had a picture from May 7th, 2020. He's on the phone on Air Force One, and he says, drain it. It's almost like they timed it perfectly, as if they drained it, and they said, you know what? On May 7th, we're going to go out there, and we're going to drive our vehicle, and we're going to have a discussion and meet with these guys who did the draining of that whole reflecting pool for all to see, and he gave them all types of handshakes and more. Let me see. Here we go. Yep.
I already shook it, but I'll shake it again, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
President Trump meeting with their Americans, working hard, and what a privilege and honor it is. You know what? I just went out there and I drained that whole swamp, and now President Trump's giving me a coin and giving us a speech.
There they are. I saw you over there. There's no way I'm leaving you out there, fellas.
There's no way I'm leaving you out there, fellows. There you are. So amazing. And folks, the other day we had an amazing interview with Lance at Ascent Nutrition. Hope you checked it out. We had quite a few actually go over there and watch this video. We got into the pine pollen superfood, the royal visit to DC connection to bees and health and pine needles. And I'm just going to show you the intro that we put. Amazing. Just a great time together with Lance. He gave us an amazing deal for all of you guys that checked it out. You head on over to the link in the description box below. You're going to watch our video, and you're going to also see when you hit that link that you're going to end up at his great website here with all of his products. And we got into everything that he has here for And We Know and Ascent Nutrition, partnering together to the organic and wild harvested products that can help support the health of you, your children, and your pets. We love Ascent Nutrition's unique products. And of course, we got into the pine pollen tincture, the pine needle extract, the ultimate Shilajit. It is just great time products and more, and I take them every single day. Hope you guys head on over there to his site in the description box below. Take advantage of that 10% off as he continues this out for all of the And We Know folks.
This is equivalent to a second civil war. We're going to have to get our act together. As everybody's saying, we're going to have to resist with every fiber in our body. We're going to have to take this system on at every election. because it's not just members of Congress. We're talking about state legislatures. We're talking about county commissions. We're talking about city council.
Down to city councils. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, can't wait. Representative Benny Thompson on redistricting. He said this is equivalent to a second civil war. We're going to have to resist with every fiber in our body. And resisting, they're doing. Tell you what, folks, this is some of the stuff that was playing out before our eyes. Tennessee screaming at the top of their lungs as this vote was about to play out. And they brought in their, I'm sure they bust their folks in. They paid off a lot of folks to go in and scream and hoop and holler and yell as if they actually care. In a sense, it's like they got together with their satanic messaging. They got together and made sure that they talked to the devil himself. He gave them the marching orders to go in there and scream and yell and act like a bunch of fools. But it didn't matter because at the end of the day, this happened. The 9-0 happened, right, for Tennessee.
We're here in this special session. Mr. Trooper, please clear out that balcony over there. Please clear out the balcony.
All right, enough of the noise. We've seen it all.
House Bill 7003, having received the Constitutional majority, I hereby declare it passed without objection. The motion can reconsider is tabled.
And there we go. It's done. 9-0. Doesn't matter how much they scream and yell. Kind of reminds me of Elijah, right? What he had to deal with the 450 prophets of Baal. They were calling on their God. They were screaming. They were cutting their bodies and more. And he was just standing there. He's like, you guys, you must be on vacation or, probably taking a nap or whatever. It doesn't matter how much you guys scream and yell at your false and fake gods that you worship. In the end, our Heavenly Father will make sure that he comes through, just like he did for Elijah with prayer. They're exposing themselves. Just as a reminder, Salty Goat told us, look at the next Congress will not have Al Green, Jasmine Crockett, Dan Crenshaw, Eric Swalwell, Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, Don Bacon, or Jerry Nadler. But tell me again how we're not draining the swamp. Also, just came out, longtime Dem Charlotte Mayor V. Lyles, 73 years old, makes a surprise announcement. She will resign halfway through her term. Charlotte, you say? Charlotte, North Carolina. Wonder what we've been talking about recently with Charlotte, North Carolina. Well, the Tennessee State Rep, Todd Warner, you guys saw this in the intro, but this guy was bold. He walked in and all the demon-possessed and the zombies were going crazy with their hatred. Remember, they're just so tolerant. You're supposed to tolerate us and our immorality. You must tolerate our evil behavior. You have to tolerate all of us for what we do to the school kids. But the moment he walks in with his Trump cape on, the tolerance goes out the window. The screaming and yelling continues. He walks in with that Trump 2024 flag as a cape. Republicans passed the redistricting plan that would secure a 9-0 GOP House map. Todd Warner wrote on X, I wore my Trump flag as a cape during the special session, and the Democrats started screaming racist at me on sight. They don't know me, never met me, just saw the flag and had a meltdown. That's the modern Democrat Party in a nutshell. Now we're going to take you over to the Justin Pearson character. The guy used to, just be a nice, outstanding young man. They got a hold of him, and he turned into an actor. And he said some choice things to this guy. They bleeped out the curse words, but you're going to know what words he's saying. I'll just warn you in case you don't want your kids to hear some of this. I just think it's important you hear their hatred of everyone when they don't get their way, just like little children.
What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? You stupid mother.
So Burchett, Representative Burchett says, guess what? We're looking for his arrest for what he did to the state trooper there. And a lot of patients held up in that area. These guys, of course, are very angry. Why? Because all the things that they did illegally are coming to the top. Folks are waking up, and they're going to blame President Trump for it, but it's their mistake. They're the ones that got caught. And guess what? It's coming back. And here's another one I thought you guys would think is amazing if you're watching your screen. The clown show in Tennessee continues. The Tennessee Democrat state senator, threw a full meltdown, getting into a tug of war with the Senate sergeant at arms like a toddler who lost her toy, all because Republicans passed the 9-0 redistricting map, her genius banner, no Jim Crow to stop the steal. These people spent years screaming stop the steal while rigging everything they could. And now they're melting down because fair maps are finally restoring actual representation. Powerless, pathetic, predictable. Tennessee Republicans are doing exactly what voters sent them to do. Keep winning, says Gunter Engelman. Thank you for that. Also, Alex put this out. Massachusetts is more red than Tennessee is blue. Massachusetts has not had a Republican member of Congress in 30 years. If Massachusetts had 0 red districts, Tennessee should have 0 blue districts. Democrats are just mad that Republicans are finally doing the same thing they have been doing for years. Now let's go on down to Alabama. Look what happened as they had looked like a tornado warning.
Back in. And say now we didn't came. Now they didn't call themselves coming back and trying to go. He didn't made the motion.
So all that's going on, the real patriots of the republic, Alabama GOP, the state senators, they passed a 2026 redistricting bill in the middle of dangerous tornadoes. You can literally hear sirens blaring.
Okay, so here it is right now. They cloturing us right now. So this so they finna cloture us now. When they say they have a report from rules. So this is the cloture motion. This is the cloture motion. So we're supposed to have been going on a recess. Supposed to have been going on a recess because of the weather. Then he gavelled back in real quick. And then
So they're doing it. Tornadoes on the way. They're like, nope, we're going to get this thing through. It's almost like they caused the bad weather to happen so the vote wouldn't go through. You know how we say they manipulate the weather and they spray the skies. And, you know, they've got a way. The enemy's still controlling some of those areas. Doesn't matter. It went through anyway. You know, we just had the White House post this MAGA, but when you go to it, I'm going to actually show you what it looks like, and we're going to talk about this here. The White House, I'm going to show you on your screen, so you basically see the White House, and you got this empty screen, and you scroll down. So I'm scrolling. You can't see me scrolling. Well, yes, you can. If you look right here, see where I'm scrolling there on the window, you can see it go up and down. So I'm scrolling down, 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 and all of a sudden you see MAGA. It's a very interesting post. And so I thought we'd bring in Justice Cometh, what he posted. He did a great job breaking this down because it's got to be some comms, right? Nothing's by coincidence. So let's bring this in, and we're going to kind of show you what he has to say about this. Let's dive into the most recent White House post, MAGA. And this is, again, from Justice Cometh, Josh, over there. The White House is coming in with an odd post here. Looked this post up on qagg.news so I could count the spaces. How many spaces a return button was pushed on this post? It carries 11:26 Eastern Standard Time timestamp. So we're going to dissect this all the way down. There it is at the very bottom. Okay, so I plugged this post in QAGG and physically counted the spaces by highlighting the text. I counted 3 times. It's 124 spaces, not including the MAGA. At line 48, there is an exact space, like if they hit the space bar, as a marker to help us count it. AI wants to count that extra space bar hit at line 48. So let's check out post 124. Remember, 124 spaces. So we're going to go to drop 124 on Qboard. It has the 3 pluses, 2 pluses, 1 plus, and then Q. Ah, the 3 sides of the triangle. That's what the triple plus, the 2 plus, and the 1 plus are, okay? Let me explain what these symbols mean. Let's look to post 133 for an explanation. Hard to swallow, important to progress. Who are the puppet masters? House of Sod, 6 plus plus plus. That's $4 trillion plus. The Rothschilds, 6 plus plus. That's $2 trillion. Soros, 6 plus, $1 trillion. Focus on the above 3. So in reading this, there are 3 families that run the world under the eye, the crown. House of Sod, Rothschild, Soros. Also, so let's check post 123. Nothing is random. Everything has meaning. Plus, plus, plus. So nothing is random. Everything has meaning. Now, do you remember the sword dance in Saudi Arabia in Trump's first term? Yeah, we took down the House of Sod. But why the House of Sod? This video explains it.
Saudi is the last name of all the royal families, right?
Right, Saudi or Saud, yes. Capital S-A-U-D or Saud. Those people are not true Arabs. They're not even Muslims. They're crypto-Khazarians. Now, what is a crypto-Jew or a crypto-Khazarian? They came out of central Turkey in 1401. And then down through the centuries, with the help of the Western powers, years later, decades and centuries later, from the United States, Great Britain, France, Germany, we need a fabricated kingdom called the House of Saud or Saud. A crypto Jew means publicly they're Muslims, Mohammed bin Salman. But privately, they are Talmudic.
Wow. So you see this yet? An excerpt from the 140 minus the 3 pluses strings were cut. So wealth over generation buys power. This is on drop 140. Power over generations buys more wealth and control. More wealth and control buys countries and its people. Families combined, you have the New World Order. Inter-tri families will collapse. What is the keystone? What nation dominates all others? What nation has influence over most others? What is the keystone? Return to Saudi Arabia, Saud. Strings cut, plus, plus, plus. Puppets, plus, plus, plus in the shadows. Remember the 3 pluses is Saudi. Each side of the triangle controls a certain subset of power brokers. So the power brokers are also labeled as the puppets and the servants. What is the New World Order? Why did the president receive a sword dance when visiting Saudi Arabia? What does this mean culturally? Why is it relevant? How did the president remove one side of the pyramid? Also, look at this post as well. Drop 134. Why were the events in Saudi Arabia extraordinary? Who was arrested? What will bank records provide? House of Saud, House of Saudi, U.S. control, follow the money. What power shift recently occurred? Was a new king appointed? Coincidence? Dark to light? Why is this relevant? Other sides are falling. We got the 3 plus, the 2 plus, the 1 plus. One side of the triangle has been removed, the first time in history. So the other sides are falling. Now let's look at the decode I did earlier today. Now remember I told you about that meme that was posted with Obama and the auto pin standing behind Biden, and you've got Hillary Clinton with the evil eyes. Let's look into this. All right. So we have Obama, Hillary, Sleepy Joe, and Hunter in the picture. So let's take a look at post 704. This is, you had to be there. Remember, you had the E in the target brackets. Well, the plain fags back in the day were all over this post. Q posted shortly after the E post, the E, just the letter E, this post below. There's the letter E. Q had to step in later and correct. Let's see where this terminal is heading. United Airlines to Guantanamo Bay. E was the terminal number of this flight. Let's keep going. So there's a flight, United Airlines to Gitmo. I think the Trump is telling us that these people pictured are about to get a one-way ticket to Gitmo. TikTok. Yeah, pretty interesting, huh, on that one. So let's continue further, okay? Trump was signaling that all the people have a one-way ticket to Gitmo. Now the White House comes in with that post with MAGA. Look at drop 3125. The Clinton Foundation They will tie in as soon as we get cooperation with Iran and verify the nuclear dust. Remember, Trump says we got to get it back, which means it was already here. Is from Hillary's Uranium One deal. Also, she will tie in as soon as the public really starts to awaken with the FISA process and how Hillary used James Comey and others to push false evidence to spy on Trump. The lead-in, FISA equals the start. The pill must be easy to swallow. And folks, look at Drop 3125, the Clinton Foundation, and you got the three pluses all the way across. The public must be prepared for what is about to come. So the White House is putting the triangle on notice here. With comms tying together, we are about to start. Stay on mission. Use relevant facts from incoming declassed material to educate and red pill. That means to wake people up. Let's not forget the timestamp in this either. 11:26. Remember, that's what time it was posted. The MAGA drop, remember, with the big space. So at 11:26, that's when time it was posted. So we look at drop 11:26. And it has this. The FBI is burning the midnight oil. What was just released to Nunez? Warning. Telegraph. It's happening. A clean house, look at this, is important. A clean house is important. It's happening. Think midterm sweeps. Think red wave. Folks, think about that. It goes all the way down to MAGA. You've got a clean White House. It's clean all the way down. Please don't forget to visit the website, tracingjustice.com. Thank you guys so much for this drop. Absolutely amazing decode for all of us to follow. Man, that was so good. It makes me want to go get a cup of coffee.
Well, everybody wants to be strong, but nobody wants to be sore. That line really caught my attention. It's in a book by Joe B. Martin I'm going through called Stand Firm and Act Like Men. And he was standing in the school weight room with his son, all the boys standing around and looking at the weights, but talking, but nobody was really doing anything. And he said, everybody wants to be strong, but nobody wants to get sore. And that's so true in so many things, whether it's a relationship, marriage, job, business, school. It's going to take blood, sweat, and tears. And that's couldn't be truer than saving America. You know, it's one thing to wake up one day and realize that America needs saving. And it's quite another thing to put in the blood, sweat, and tears to make it happen. You know, when the children of Israel took over the promised land, God had promised it to them. But it wasn't enough to say, well, God promised it and he's going to do what he's going to do and sit back and wait for it to happen. No, they had to take possession of the land, battle by battle, city by city. And it was in partnership with God. It wasn't just on their own. They partnered with God and overtook Jericho, which was much bigger than anything they could have done on their own. The next town they came to, Ai, was very small. They thought it was a piece of cake. They didn't even send all their guys. And they got soundly defeated because they weren't working in partnership with God. They had some things they had to take care of first. And the same is true for our country. We believe firmly that God has a plan for America, that he is working, and he will prevail. But it is going to also take blood, sweat, and tears. And we want to invite you, as we always do, to join us in prayer, spiritual warfare for this country. First, foremost, always, and continuing. That's something we can all do. And then along with that, to say, okay, God, what would you have me to do? Where's a place you want me to roll up my sleeves and do something? It's got to be in partnership with him. When we do it on our own and we just move in a political sphere, it's going to get really frustrating, probably going to get beat up, not get a lot of progress made. But when we do it in conjunction with him, with what he is doing, that's going to make all the difference. Welcome to the Great Awakening.
Man, it's so great to have Mike on board. HuntersBlendCoffee.com in the description box below. They buy only the top 6% of specialty coffee beans, roast with precision in small batches, and ship to locally roasted coffee fresh to the door. We support organizations and causes that are near and dear to the hearts of many freedom-loving Americans, such as pro-life, youth shooting sports, veterans, hunting and conservation, patriot, and anti-sex trafficking. Folks, absolutely amazing. Head on over to HuntersBlendCoffee.com in the description box below today. So I wanted to show you real quick the Republican Patriot and the Democrat Liberal. Democrat Liberal's like a little chihuahua-looking thing barking. All of a sudden, the door opens, and the Republican is giant and able to look at them, and they start crying. Oh, I just had to show you that one. You know, they're going to be crying quite a bit because the furious redistricting battles continue. Republicans plan to add 14 seats following last week's Supreme Court ruling. You got +5 in Georgia, +4 in Florida, +1 in Alabama, +1 in Louisiana, +1 in Mississippi, +1 in South Carolina. And of course, we just added 1 in Tennessee. All this election stuff is playing out. And, you know, even CNN went out there and started talking about it. I'm going to show you that in a moment. But check out the lies so we can make sure we get it lined up.
There's one reservoir that was out of commission.
2 empty reservoirs, not 1. The liar.
He is correct. 1 million years ago, it was for wildfires.
$2 million reservoir firefighting purpose.
But over the last 30, 40 years, it's been for drinking water.
You ain't nothing but a liar.
He talked about the winds. That is just completely inaccurate.
No way.
This is an hour-by-hour forecast here, and you can see that over the next couple of hours, we still have some pretty decent gusts.
If that were accurate, then the planes would have been able to fly.
Planes were flying 40 miles an hour.
And so the winds reach close to 100 miles an hour.
Nope.
And through parts of Pacific Palisades, we've got some gusts up into the 20 to 30 mile per hour range.
And the planes were unable to fly.
The planes were flying.
So she's an incredible liar.
So I'm going to show you something else he did.
I'm not sure how to respond to that vision of Los Angeles. This is a MAGA Republicans' idea of what Los Angeles looks like. This is really not.
Did you see his face when they put the camera on him? Oh, I almost pulled a Donald Trump there. So cool. He had this on, it looks like TikTok.
Karen Basura is a communist. Now, when I was 19, 20, I was living in an apartment on Skid Row, getting my political science degree at USC. That's as LA as it gets, dude. But do you know what Karen Basura was doing at that age? You guessed it, going to Cuba to support the communist revolution and Fidel Castro's oppressive regime? What? Karen Basura is a card-carrying member of the Communist Front Group, the Venceremos Brigade, an anti-American communist solidarity organization in which she actively worked for years to undermine the U.S. and prop up the communist revolution in Cuba? Does this sound normal to you? Who in the heck spends their 20s supporting a violent communist dictatorship in a foreign country? What were you doing at 19 years old? Some reports have shown that Karen Basura's communist organization was actually involved in intelligence training ops on behalf of the Cuban regime, and some of the members actually bombed the U.S. Capitol in 1983. There's a legitimate possibility that Karen Basura is a literal communist spy.
Communist spy. And this goes on for several minutes. He goes on and explains it. We've been through this before and talked about it, but even CNN backed up kind of sharing information about this. It's almost like they like him.
This is a machine. If we want to burn this town to the ground, pull through that!
That's an AI image of Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass as the Joker.
CNN. They're going to show you on TV. Almost like they really like it.
The superhero in this Batman-inspired AI video saving the city from Democratic establishment is Spencer Pratt. In real life, he is running for Los Angeles mayor. Now, there's AI imagery in the ad of a cake-eating California Governor Gavin Newsom and former Vice President Kamala Harris chugging some sort of liquor.
They're telling you. Do you guys get it? Isn't that great? Thank you, CNN, for telling us about this wonderful meme that all the CNN watchers are going to go, what? Where's that? I got to go find it.
The setting is a dystopian Los Angeles. For the record, Pratt's campaign didn't push out this video, though the candidate did repost it. It appears to have been made by Charles Curran, an LA-based filmmaker, and has been reposted
3.7 million views.
Millions of times. This isn't the only buzzy video about this unconventional mayoral candidate.
This is where I live. They let my home burn down.
I know what the consequences of failed leadership are. That's why I'm running for mayor.
Pratt is a fire victim. His home in the Pacific Palisades burned down in the devastating fires last year. This is an actual ad from Spencer Pratt's campaign, also viewed millions of times. His political resume is essentially non-existent. He's a former reality TV star. But what he has done is capture attention with his everyman rage, and he's raising more money than incumbent Karen Bass.
Oh, so good. Oh, thank you, CNN, for that exposure. Good stuff for the LA mayor. Way to go. Well, the Minnesota Medicaid fraud exposed, $11 million stolen. Fraudsters flee to Kenya with no jail time. That's right. One fraudster escaped to Kenya. His accomplice got 0 prison time. Text messages show them openly admitting they plan to overbill taxpayers and run. This is the kind of sweetheart deal happening under Tim Walz and Keith Ellison. They're complicit in protecting the grift while millions are looted from working Minnesotans. How about that? And also got him. An illegal alien just got nailed in North Carolina with nearly 80 pounds of meth. Under Joe Biden, the Democrats opened the floodgates and created a narcotic safe haven for illegal aliens and the cartels. Trump is ending it. Thank God. And so hopefully we'll have an end to all the shenanigans going on with this thing that's everybody seems to be talking about. My son even ran into, Dad, you see this thing with hantavirus? Oh my goodness, these people were on the ship and blah, 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 blah.
You may have heard about the cruise ship that's been stranded for days near Cape Verde. They had a rare virus outbreak that left 3 people dead and a few more sick. And it's allegedly due to a thing called the hantavirus, which is, listen to this, an airborne virus that comes from rodents' droppings, urine, or saliva, and that also transmits from human to human. What was the COVID story again? It came from a bat and a pangolin and some wet market. And do you remember in January 2020, the people stranded on the Italian ship? A lot of similarities. But wait.
A lot of similarities. Guys, I've seen videos, I think it's in India or some other countries, where they let the rats just run around like pets. And all of a sudden they say, look what happened because of the rats.
In this one, there's a plot twist. One woman left the ship and collapsed at the airport in Johannesburg, probably infecting other people, just like in the movie Contagion.
Just like in the movies.
Now, the fake news media is sharing this blogger's video on purpose, trying to spread fear amongst us.
All we want right now is to feel safe.
You can act like a man. What's wrong with you?
These fear campaigns usually starts with the WHO saying there's nothing to worry about, but we're monitoring the situation in case people fall for it. And that's when they crank the story, the fear meter, and the mandates. So let's do ourselves a favor and keep that story right where it belongs.
Turn off the noise. Turn on your mind. And all these guys. Remember, it belongs in the trash can. You know, Fauci's pandemic playbook, they got exposed. Remember, prosecute this guy, the monster. Remember, 1984, he took an infectious agent and introduced it to the population. And that's where you got AIDS. And then you've got the 2017, there's going to be a surprise pandemic. Let's see if we've got that one queued up and ready to go right here.
I heard from the introduction that I have been around for a while and have had the opportunity and the privilege and the pleasure of serving in 5 administrations. I thought I would bring that perspective to the topic today, is the issue of pandemic preparedness. And if there's one message that I want to leave with you today, based on my experience, and you'll see that in a moment, is that there is no question that there will be a challenge, the coming administration, in the arena of infectious diseases, both chronic infectious diseases in the sense of already ongoing disease, and we have certainly a large burden of that, but also there will be a surprise outbreak. And I hope by the end of my relatively short presentation, you will understand why the history of the last 32 years that I've been the director of NIAID will tell the next administration that there's no doubt in anyone's mind that they will be faced with the challenges that their predecessors were faced with.
Remember that? And he never did that for any other president. Never came out and made those kind of announcements. But boy, why did they have to do it? Well, we talked about it. The election season, they needed to get President Trump out. And then 2025, he said there's probably going to be a respiratory pandemic.
What is likely to happen, I don't know if it's going to be next year or 10 years or 15 or 20 years from now.
He knew.
Is the emergence of another respiratory disease. It may be another coronavirus, because we know that coronaviruses really, mostly in bats, have the capability of binding to receptors that are in humans.
The liar.
It could be another flu. We're dealing with H5N1 now, which is bird flu, which has taken the somewhat disturbing step of infecting mammals, namely cows and cats and other mammals, which means it's adapting itself more to a human. So my concern, Walter, is that whenever that happens, the next outbreak will be of a respiratory disease that's easily transmissible, that has a significant degree of morbidity. And
respiratory disease. Guys, another one's coming, right? Not OpQ. Make sure to tell us this. Hantavirus pandemic revealed. The mRNA COVID vaxxed will test positive. In other words, those folks that were out there that got their jab, well, one of those side effects on Pfizer's, on their website and other sites, hantavirus pulmonary. If you're looking at your screen, one of the side effects circled from their booklet. So the next pandemic, hantavirus, question mark, from May 10th to 2021, funded by the Gates Foundation. That article was put out, which includes discussion of becoming a pandemic, fatality rates, PCR testing, vaccines and development. And then Pfizer, funded by the Gates Foundation, released trial data as per the FOIA request for March 2nd. You ready? Here's the year, 2022, which included a long list of adverse events of special interest, including hantavirus pulmonary infection, which means those who injected their COVID mRNA bioweapon injections will test positive for antivirus by default. They got the shot, they're probably going to have hantavirus. Got it? And also, one reminder out there, a lot of folks out on social media saying, oh, there's this guy named Soothsayer. It's an X account, really strange account. It says the corona ended in 2023 and then hantavirus is coming in 2026. Reminder from Justice Comment, don't fall for this again. It's a plant. How can you predict the future when you know the playbook? This was an old Fed account. Don't forget. And also, Ripcord out there to remind us, the scary sounding hantavirus. The media and the WHO are all over the outbreak on the cruise ship MV Hondias, stirring up fear. Don't panic, however. Moderna just so happens to have developed a shot for it. Wow. 2 years ago, Moderna started working on a vaccine for hantavirus. There it is right there in the news. Korea University Vaccine Innovation Center teams with Moderna. And I tell you what, New York Post put this out. Health officials think they've tracked down that source of cruise ship hantavirus outbreak. They asked Trump about this. I got some more in a moment. I want to see what he had to say.
Yes, I have. Can you tell us what you've learned in these briefings? Well, I think you're going to be told everything, and you already have. It's very much, we hope, under control. It was the ship, and I think we're going to make a full report about it tomorrow. We have a lot of people, a lot of great people are studying it. It should be fine. We hope.
A lot of key people are looking at it. Should be fine, we hope. Let's see. Irish Patriot. Here's hantavirus fact sheet from the early 1990s from a government health department. It clearly states hantavirus is not contagious. Everyone learned this and pass it on. All you have to do is head over to Irish Patriot, look that up. And then if you go to TikTok, this is posted. All the little cumulative analysis of post-authorization adverse event reports from Pfizer. Let's see, we go through this at the video. Somebody went through and took the pictures and said, let's look at this stuff. Thank you, Dutch Force, for letting us have this one. Hantavirus. Look what Pfizer adverse event reports received in 2021. You get a shot from Pfizer. These are all the different things that can happen to you, folks. It's a laundry list of nothing but pain and suffering. And I tell you what, when you go through this and you look at it in detail, you start realizing, my goodness, look at that one right there, hantavirus on the very bottom right of your screen. Let's see, what else did they try to do? The world is a stage to wake you up, Lesgo brand put out. Look what they had on the X-Files.
You know my work? I was right about Dallas, wasn't I?
How were you right?
Are you familiar with the hantavirus agent, Mulder?
the hantavirus on X-Files.
Yeah, it was a deadly virus spread by field mice in the southwestern United States several years ago.
According to the newspaper, FEMA was called out to manage an outbreak of the hantavirus. Are you familiar with what the Federal Emergency Management Agency's real power is? FEMA allows the White House to suspend constitutional government upon declaration of a national emergency. Think about that. What is an agency with such broad sweeping power doing managing a small viral outbreak in suburban Texas?
Oh, looks like the CIA let them have those files so they can, prepare everybody for the future. Last time it was bats, now it's rats. And the rats are up. Do your little dance. Yeah, the little liberals are going to be freaking out. Oh my goodness, we're all going to die. It looks like the hantavirus is going to get us. Oh my goodness, here you go, huh? So then the WHO comes out and they said something, the quiet part out loud.
But how does that translate in a global solidarity? I will let time to tell, but we really need this incident, this outbreak has seen why the world needs a global entity that coordinates it.
We need this outbreak to show the world that they need a global entity that connects this. They need WHO, the World Health Organization, openly saying the hantavirus proves why the world needs centralized global health control. They didn't say we need to stop the outbreak or we need transparency. They said they need the incident to justify expanding global authority. Thank you, Matt, XRP Patriot. Right on cue, the pandemic returns. mRNA platforms ramp up. Governments push preparedness. Digital surveillance expands. Borders become meaningless. Unelected global organizations demand more control. They always say the same thing because the world is interconnected. Translation, more centralized power, more compliance, less national sovereignty. So we have two types of people that are pushing the hantavirus fear, says Ripcord. Number one, the people who are seriously naive and gullible, who believe anything that was put on the television and pushed to them from authority figures, politicians, and more. And number two, you have the people who are in on the scam. Like this Mario Knopfel guy. He's just posting constantly. KLM flight attendants hospitalized, isolated in Amsterdam after coming in contact with a woman who died from hantavirus. Yeah, so you got that. The passenger briefly boarded a KLM flight in Johannesburg. There's a third group. They've known that this is all a lie since 2020. Taking down that swamp has been a big part of even the military-industrial complex and all the fakery going on there and the contractors and more that steal money from us.
A broken Pentagon bureaucracy was doing the same thing for decades. When our warfighters needed more weapons, aircraft, and ships, the Department of Defense allowed contractors to double dip at your expense. They charge you, the taxpayer, to build their factories, and then charge you again for the final product. And despite paying companies to make weapons faster, schedule delays were constant, and cost overruns were the norm. All while their CEOs got rich. But today, President Trump's War Department is flipping this rigged system on its head. We're not tolerating delays in production or cost overruns anymore. We've pushed out the bureaucrats who've made these deals in the past and replaced them with the most talented negotiators in the private sector. A group of businessmen so elite, they've been rightly dubbed Deal Team 6. It's simple. We're putting the American taxpayer first by offering you a better deal. We now move at the speed of business, not bureaucracy. Now, when a defense company expands its production to sell more equipment to the U.S. military, they pay the bill. They pay for new factories, assembly lines, manufacturing plants, not the taxpayer. In exchange, we're giving these companies steady, long-term orders for exactly what our warriors need. And defense companies are making things in higher volumes, much more quickly while keeping their prices flat. Should these companies fail to deliver, we will hold them accountable and bring in new companies who will. Speed, volume, and fiscal responsibility. It's common sense, and it's what the American taxpayer demands.
Amen. Wow, it's great to have him in power. Great video team. The editing is phenomenal. We've been needing that for a long time. You know, and a huge win, another one, Mercedes-Benz announced a $4 billion investment into an Alabama manufacturing plant to ease its tariff burden. Surge production. Once again, the experts suffer a stunning loss and Trump wins. Turns out the tariffs work, folks. That's $4 billion building a plant, which what? Then you're going to have the food places around there growing. You're going to have folks spending money in the local department stores and small businesses. You're going to have more homes built in that area and apartments and more. Just amazing to watch how it plays out, and the ripple effect is amazing. Also, the effect of the precious metals has been amazing for all of us. Gold reclaims reserve status. Central banks reverse the 1900s dollar shift, and gold, silver is going to begin new rallies. And we had all this proof that was put out for us by Dr. Kirk Elliott last Saturday. Hope you check that one out. We're going to have another video coming out this weekend. Hope you check it out. Now, Evan Altman, a voting rights organizer for the ACLU and a former member of the National Democrat Training Committee, was arrested on child porn charges. Also, Disney cruise ship scandal exposed 28 crew members busted for child sex abuse material. The feds arrest 28 workers from 5 cruise ships, including Disney's Magic in San Diego, in a huge child porn crackdown. Passengers watched in shock as the perverts were hauled off. Disney says zero tolerance, but parents are raging. How many more predators are on these family ships? Kids are not safe at all. Listen to this.
These are people that worship Moloch and sacrifice children. I can't sugarcoat that. Okay, how is it possible that Walt Disney Corporation has anything to do with biomedical? Charles Darwin's grandson and Fleming, the guy who discovered penicillin, they went to the British government and they said, "Hey, we think you need to improve biomedical and scientific publishing house." And so they said, no problem. They combined these two publishing houses, and guess who they put in as the editor? This is where we start getting into the Disney realm. Okay, they hired as the editor of this Robert Maxwell. Now, Robert Maxwell has nothing to do with medical education, right, or scientific publication, but it turns out that the owner of the largest scientific publishing house in England, all during the war and before and after, it was the intelligence services owned their publishing. So now they hire Robert Maxwell, who was a proven and admitted a spy for the British during World War II, but he was also a Mossad agent because he's buried on the Mount of Olives. Who's Robert Maxwell? He's Ghislaine Maxwell's dad. Okay, Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, the Disney Corporation, it turns out, his son is named Robert Maxwell Iger because he was a best buddy of Robert Maxwell. And then you have the whole issue of Ghislaine Maxwell with Jeffrey Epstein and the whole pedophile problem. It turns out the Disney Corporation has cruise ships that would go and do diving things off St. James or the neighboring island. It's all big one incestuous thing, but one of the things that flows through everything, it shows the pedophile connection to all of this. So who they are people that have big enough money for universal censorship, big enough money to come after, doctors all over the world, take over the system to come after us all over the world. And they're connected heavily by funding from pedophilia. And the even more evil thing that they don't talk about is body parts. Is the number one money in the world is selling body parts.
Yeah, all this on your screen if you're missing it. Robert Maxwell and the Pergamon Press. Well, it's interesting because Pergamum, the throne of power, that's what it means. The fortified height or the exalted stronghold, a city built above others, ruling from elevation, politically, religiously, and spiritually. Power looking down on humanity. Well, go a step further. What the Bible says in the book of Revelation 2:12 through 13, Pergamum is called the place where Satan's throne is. Not symbolism, not metaphor, a location where authority, worship, and control merged, and faithful believers were killed for resisting it. The gods of Pergamum and what they stood for: Zeus, the god of dominion, power through fear, rule through force. Asclepius, god of healing, worship through sickness, serpent symbolism, rituals involving snakes, altered states, and spiritual submission. Healing tied to obedience and not the truth, which is why we need our country rededicating 250 years, a national jubilee of prayer, praise, and thanksgiving, Sunday, May 17th, 2026 at 8 a.m. Great date, number 17, Q, and so much more. That National Mall. Join with the neighbors and friends from every state in the union in giving thanks and praise to God for 250 years of his providence for the United States, and praying that God bless and protect America for the next 250 years, and in solemnly rededicating our country as one nation under God. Let's not forget that.
For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you again, thanking you for all of the information that has been placed into our lives through a wonderful team that I believe you put together, that searched Scripture, realized we are having a spiritual battle between good and evil, and ensured that many Bible verses were placed on a communication board for all of us to read. Thank you. Through your wisdom and knowledge that we could never comprehend, you put this together for us to wake us up to the satanic rituals that have been playing out mostly against our children, the evil that has been played out that we're only allowed to know 40% of, and we were told, and you understand this even more so, that we could not handle as humans what these Satan worshipers have done to so many humans across this earth. We come before you again in your throne. We ask that this fake hantavirus messaging gets stomped down hard, and that these plans that these guys have to try to take us out will be gone and vanished, and we will realize that all of the key players that are working behind the scenes to bring this nation back to good order and to the way it was supposed to be under your guidance and direction, a city on a hill, basically a country, shining the light of truth around this entire earth. We look to you, the author and finisher of our faith, to protect our president, the many leaders that are standing on the front lines, and all of our troops and more. And we certainly need your help also in your protection of our own families and how we deal with so many others in our life. We bring this before you in the name of Jesus Christ, our Savior. Amen. Thank you, folks. We hope you have a great weekend. Thank you so much for your support, hitting that like button, helping us get to number 2 on the leaderboard, and so much more. You guys are amazing. We love you. For now, this LT Semper Fi with them we know, signing out.
Bill 7003, having received the constitutional majority, I hereby declare it passed without objection.
In a recent interview, former President Barack Obama said, and I quote, "The White House shouldn't be able to direct the Attorney General to go around